Hi, I'm Vera. I'm a 4-time survivor and the founder of the nonprofit Breast Cancer Goddess and the for-profit The Cancer Goddess. And I'm here to educate you about spiritual, mental, and physical healing in regards to cancer. So please enjoy this programming. I'm about to see one of my heroes, Thomas Seyfried, and at Boston College. And he researches metabolic approach to cancer. And my husband is actually assistant professor here as well.
It doesn't work.
I really love his laugh.
Preclinical model. Oh, well, that's only a mouse. So you have to show it works in humans. In fact, the humans do better than the mice.
Here we go. Higgins Hall, Boston College. Thomas Seyfried. He greeted me with Twinkies. Just kidding, it was a joke. 10-year-old Twinkie from Dr. Seyfried's office. And it's a little hard, though.
Yeah, but a mouse ate it 2 years ago and he thought it was great. So,
it's like in Super Size Me when he leaves the fries for like weeks on end and they still look the same.
Yeah. You know, well, this is the result of highly processed carbohydrates and all unnatural things.
Yes.
Because anything that would be natural should not be even in existence in 12 years. Mm-hmm. So, but people eat this, and they deep fry them, and they put chocolate syrup and powdered sugar on them. So they're not here for me to eat. They're here
you
for me.
You offered me one though, as a joke.
I offered you one.
As a joke.
As a joke, but there are some hungry people that would eat that.
Okay.
All
right. Wow. Yes, looking good. All right, test.
That's why you're good at this stuff, huh?
Well, you know.
You see, I have my whole. I wonder what Kyle did with all the other stuff.
Let's make sure you're in the shot, though. Okay. So you might want to.
Yeah, but you see that stand there?
Yeah.
Okay, we have our own studio in here.
Oh.
And we do Talking Cancer with Professor Seyfried.
All right. I'm very excited to bring you one of my favorite professors, Dr. Thomas Seyfried. Is that I say it right?
Seyfried.
Oh,
that's okay.
Let me just do it again. Seyfried.
Yeah.
Seyfried.
Yeah.
Seyfried.
Yeah.
Okay. I added a G, didn't I?
That's all right. The Siegfried is a variation of Seyfried.
Seyfried. Right. Yeah. Seyfried. Oh, you need to get that? You can get that.
No. These are people.
Spammers?
No, they're not spammers. They leave messages on my office phone. They leave messages on my cell. For the cancer stuff.
Oh my gosh. Okay, right.
I get like 50 a day.
You don't have a website.
Well, I do, but it's they.
Who are these people?
People who have cancer, like you and others, and
right.
They just want to know how to stay alive. Seyfried. You know Seymour.
Seyfried.
You know people.
Seyfried. Yeah. Okay.
Because. Okay.
All right. Okay. Here I am with Dr. Thomas Seyfried. Oh God, I did it again.
No, don't worry.
Seyfried. Seyfried. Okay, let me do it again. One more time. All right. I'm here.
What happened to your pants?
Oh.
You gonna crawl here on your knees?
It's a fashion.
No.
Come on, you work at Boston College. Don't you see this?
We're very conservative. No, we don't have that kind of a fashion here. Got to go down to Nashville to find that.
I knew you'd say something about these pants. I'm a 45-year-old woman still wearing grunge clothing, and that's okay.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. I'm here with Dr. Thomas Seyfried.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful because he's all about the research regarding the metabolic approach to cancer. And I think that's I'm pretty sure that's one of the reasons I'm still here talking to you. And so why do you think I survived 4 cancers?
I don't know. I would have to know exactly what you did, when you did things. And we're trying to link survival to blood work. The glucose ketone index is a way to let us know whether we're in certain zones to, we're trying to link. Basically, we're trying to answer that question. What do you do to survive longer with cancer in a healthier state of life? And we need to collect more data on that. But we're seeing that those folks that can maintain low blood sugar and elevated ketones seem to survive longer than people who do not do that. How much longer, we're not yet sure. And we're just seeing, we're pushing, how far can we push survival in these conditions? So our new paper just came out from glioblastoma, brain tumor, which is quite deadly, from our Greek study. And those folks that were able to maintain the calorie-restricted Mediterranean ketogenic diet, which was salmon, sardines, olive oils, and this kind of thing, survived. Many more of them survived beyond 3 years than those who did not adhere to the diet, where only one person survived that long. So it was 66% improvement in overall survival, just with standard of care, followed by calorie-restricted Mediterranean diet.
Do they have grains?
No, minimal grain, no, very low sugar. There was no glucose. It was all sardines. Don't have everything was very small. There was some avocado in there as well. So it's all written in the paper. But they also did a glucose ketone index, and the people, of course, who have those kinds of foods have a lower glucose, elevated ketones, and that seems to be linked strongly to overall survival. So we're in the process of developing. We've already published the glucose ketone index, but now we're broadening it to use as a tool for cancer patients, also for prevention. So if you keep a low glucose ketone index for your life, through a lot of exercise, eating these low carb diets, the probability of getting cancer in the first place is minimal. So you can't get. It's very hard to get cancer when your mitochondria remain healthy. People need to know what the mitochondria is.
Even if you have a genetic disposition, like in my case, BRCA1.
Yeah, BRCA1 is a risk factor. It's not. It's not it's a secondary cause. It's not a primary cause. Why do I say secondary? Because it depends on. Okay, let's give it the highest penetrance rate. 60% of women that have BRCA1 could go on and develop breast cancer. But that means 40% that have the same mutation, the same gene, never develop breast cancer. So what is the difference between those that got breast cancer with BRCA1 and those that did not get breast cancer with BRCA1? And in every woman that got the cancer, the mutation damaged her mitochondria. Okay, so why the other women who have BRCA1, who didn't get cancer, why did that mutation not damage their mitochondria to give them the cancer? And the answer is that we don't know. However, we can intervene with diet and lifestyle issues, so that if your risk having the BRCA1 is 60%, diet and lifestyle issues can reduce that down significantly, putting you in a lower risk group. Because if we put you in the diet and lifestyle group, that already enhances the health and vitality of the mitochondria, making them less and less likely to be damaged by the BRCA1. So, because none of these inherited risk factors, which is Li-Fraumeni, which is the highest penetrance, you have retinoblastoma, BRCA1, you have others. We have a whole list of these. They're all risk factors. None of them are primary causes. They're all secondary causes. So if it's a secondary cause, we can manipulate the risk.
So in my case, it could have been environmental, it could have been stress-induced, it could have been what I was eating, perhaps.
Well, if you have the mutation, you're already at risk.
Right.
Okay, so, and Angelina Jolie made it very famous by removing breasts and ovaries or whatever.
Yeah.
But all you'd have to do, that's one option. The other option is get into a diet and lifestyle that would make the risk much lower.
Right.
Okay, and we would have to do studies on that. We would have to acknowledge people before they would have breast cancer, that they carry the BRCA1, BRCA2, or whatever risk factor, and then we would have one group. Well, how would we do that? Because you'd say, well, you're at high risk. What are you going to do? I'm going to have my breasts removed. Well, what if we put you in a highly a state where you're going to enhance the health and vitality of your mitochondria, reducing damage to the mitochondria in the first place? Then we would have to see, what over the course of that person's life, what would be their risk if they say, well, I have this gene. Okay, I can make a choice. We already have enough what we call historic controls. We have, okay, you don't do anything you're going to have a 60% chance of getting breast cancer, and sometimes other cancers as well, not just breast cancer, depending what the gene is. Okay, so we know that's a 60%. Now we have a group of women who would say, I don't have breast cancer, but I've already been diagnosed with the mutation. Okay, so what's my choice? Okay, you have the choice then. You can say, okay, I'm going to go metabolic, and I'm going to do everything I can to lower my glucose and elevate my ketones, and then see when or if ever they get breast cancer. Right. It's an alternative option to surgical mutilation.
Right.
When they're cutting your breasts off and your ovaries out, I call that surgical mutilation.
I've had that.
Yeah, well, that's surgical mutilation.
I want to tell you something. When I was 24, this is 20 years ago, and I joined a 12-step program for addiction.
A what?
12-step. 12-step.
Okay.
Have you heard of AA?
Alcoholic Anonymous 12-step.
Yes, but it's not that. It's for food addiction.
Oh.
And so what I did, we talked about my fasting for 67 days, which was not total fasting because I was still taking calories in. But what prepared me for that was joining this 12-step program for food addiction when I was 24, where we did 3 meals a day, nothing in between, no flour, no sugar, and the avoidance of any binge foods. Yeah. So I had already been doing that for 15 years when I was diagnosed with cancer. So I can't imagine. Yeah. I can't imagine if I was eating processed sugar.
So what was the food addiction you had?
I was bulimic.
Oh, okay.
I was bulimic, so I had to recover from bulimia.
That's kind of like feast-famine kind of thing.
But most people come in obese.
Yeah.
And it really cures them of everything, hypertension, and it really, because you're putting them on 3 meals a day, nothing in between, and the avoidance of flour and sugar. You only get grains once you lose your weight. You still have to do this intermittent fasting situation, which really changes their body.
When we built the glucose ketone index calculator, it was predominantly for brain cancer people. I published that because we found that if you keep the lower glucose index, you can manage brain cancer much better. But now our understanding, after years of seeing young, healthy people like yourself, and that even in the 30s and 40s, who put themselves into low GKI, they significantly reduce the glucose ketone index. Okay. Yeah. So that's what the glucose ketone index. You measure. You take a drop of blood. I usually have the meter here somewhere.
Oh, you could have done it on me.
Yeah. Well, that's next door. The meter's next door. Oh. But anyway, you take a drop of blood. You measure your glucose. Right. And then you take a ketone stick. And you measure your ketones. Yeah. And then push the button, and the meter gives you the ratio of the two.
Kind of like the Atkins diet.
Atkins diet can lower your GKI, okay, but it's not as powerful as other things.
You're eating like tons of fat.
No, you're not eating tons of fat.
And Atkins, not.
Yeah, but everything is calorie restricted. And besides, if you eat a pat of butter, you will induce cholecystokinin, which is a hormone that's an appetite suppressant. Okay. So you already, eat 2 patties of butter, I'm full. You're not going to sit there and eat a whole stack of butter because your cholecystokinin is going to prevent you from doing that.
Genetically, biologically, you're a doctor of biology. Evolutionarily, how does that make any sense for humans?
Oh, we evolved eating fat and meat.
Just fat and meat.
Well, we smashed the bone marrow out of an elephant, which is all fat. Yeah. So they were eating that, and they ate the meat. They ate organ meat. You can go back, and when we see people on the planet today that are living according to their traditional ways, and has been recorded by Albert Schweitzer and other folks that would actually study the health of people that lived according to these ways of thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Right. Cancer was rare. Yeah. They never found it. Right. They found it, but it wasn't very, very often. And
they died of infections and
injuries and infections. Parasites and this kind of thing. But they weren't dying from chronic disease. They weren't dying from type 2 diabetes, from obesity, from cancer. All the things that are killing.
Neither were their pets.
Their pets. No, we don't generally get much cancer in animals that live in the wild, that live according to their.
But once they're back in SAD,
like
sad American diets.
Our commercial dog diets are killing the dogs.
Yeah.
Right, they're all fat. They get all kinds of
My
problems.
guinea pig is huge.
Yeah. What are you feeding this?
I mean, this guinea pig is just eating too much. I just want to say that.
Yeah, well,
every time it jumps,
well, for somebody, no, for somebody who is so interested in this, you need to starve the guinea pig.
I know,
right?
I know. let it run wild and let it catch.
Put a running wheel in there and feed it like once every 2 days.
I know.
And all of a sudden, this thing will become very vibrant. I might not be the happiest guinea pig, right? But like, who is? But in any event, yeah. So you have to. So that's why we're in the process of making this glucose ketone index as a tool for prevention of cancer and chronic disease, and as a treatment for cancer and chronic disease. So, because a lot of people throw the caution to the wind, and they say, "Well, I'm not going to do much exercise, and I'm not going to change my diet too much," and then they end up with cancer, or obesity, or what else we got? Diabetes. We have all these kinds of conditions, and then they say, "Oh, now what are you going to do for me?" It takes not all, many people prefer to take a pill. They don't want to have to do anything more than take a pill, and that's
what Ozempic is, right?
That's what most of them are. Yeah, magic pills. But we don't know what that will do to the physiology if people were to take that for 5 or 7 years.
Yeah.
And then, because it from what I understand, it also degrades muscle. God forbid. I mean, this is not healthy. I guess it might, for a short-term solution to an acute problem, maybe it's okay. But I don't know if it's a long-term solution to a problem.
Right.
Because we'll have to wait. Let's see what those folks taking these inhibitors, glucose and uptake inhibitors, or whatever you want to call them. Let's see. That's unnatural.
No,
that's not who we are. But it is who we are.
It is.
Because Americans, people want quick fixes,
and
without too much.
And we're addicted to flour and sugar.
Yeah.
You know, I say Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks are the greatest drug dealers.
Well,
because we're addicted to the caffeine, we're addicted to the sugar.
Well, the sugar more than caffeine, I think.
And flour.
Well, yeah.
I was just at a cancer conference, and they were, we had chips, and they gave chips and sandwiches and croissants to the women going through cancer. And it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, well, they don't understand.
No.
So it would be like someone who is going to an Alcoholic Anonymous meeting, and for snacks they serve you martinis.
Yeah. Yeah. Or sugar. Actually, they do sugar and flour.
Well, some people have transferred their addiction.
Yeah, I know.
Away from alcohol to sugar.
Yeah. Or smoking.
Or any of these things. But that's
not. Or gambling.
Yeah. Well, we have addictions. And that's who we are as a species. We're.
Why are we so addictive as a species?
It's a good
Our
question.
Own awareness of death?
No, I don't think it's that. I think it's just the pleasure that you find that you can transfer these kinds of things. A lot of people would smoke to reduce their anxiety and things like this. But then they put them at risk for something else. But our ancestors, when I say our ancestors, are Paleolithic ancestors from 500,000 or 700,000 years ago. Those people were no different biologically than we are today. It's just that technology was still primitive. So hunter-gatherers, which was for hundreds of thousands of years of our existence, you had to hunter-gatherer. Well, hunting and killing a big buffalo or an elephant ain't easy.
No, it's not easy. And you have to run them out, right?
I have images of Africans that are still hunting that way, that they did hundreds of thousands of years ago. It's unbelievable.
And they pick the best runner, right?
Yes.
So run them out. And so the animal, antelope probably, or something like that, just collapses, right?
Absolutely.
And then they slit the throat, right?
Yeah. I mean, why? But they choose the guy who can run for 2 days straight, like a marathon guy. And the other guys are following, so, and then they can kill this animal, and then you have to butcher the animal, and then you have to cook the animal.
Yeah, a lot
Okay.
of work.
A
It's
lot
big
of work.
operation.
And where's the sugar coming from in that?
There's no sugar in that.
Okay. And you ever see these guys? They're chiseled.
I know.
They're
They have
unbelievable.
like 6-packs. I know.
Yeah, they're all like that.
I know.
You
the
know?
only would be honey, right? But honey was and until they smoked honey, right? Where you smoke the bees out.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
kill
So
them.
that I've always said in many of my podcasts and YouTubes and things, who was the first guy to find how to smoke bees? Because the poor damn dumbass bear is getting his whole face stung to hell, but he's willing to suffer with the pain to get the honey.
I know.
We're not like that. Is there another way we can use our technology? Smoke the bees. Bees don't know what's going on. Now you can reach in and get the honey without being severely stung.
And how often would that be? That would be like once in a blue moon.
Yeah, well, once they figured out the smoking, these poor bees were they're going to be smoked. But then the biggest change in diet and lifestyle came in the Neolithic period when we started to cultivate grains, corn, wheat, rice, and then we built civilization. It was more 10 to 12. 10 to 12 in that area. That was called the Neolithic period.
Neolithic period.
Yeah, that's when our ancestors started to.
So it's really only been 10 to 12,000 years that we've been eating grains.
Yeah, and most of those grains were all natural as well.
Right.
They weren't
whole grains. They were
they were whole grains.
Yeah.
They were carbohydrates that were complex and required more energy to break them down for energy. They weren't these highly processed carbohydrates that the Twinkie is loaded with there.
And sugar.
Yeah, sugar and well, don't give it. We had sugar cane in certain climates, and then of course you could bash the sugar out of the sugar cane, sweeten certain things. But even that sugar is natural. That's a natural product. It's not artificially produced like high fructose corn syrup and all these kinds of things, which can put us at tremendous risk. So even granulated sugar is less harmful than high fructose corn syrup, because that throws your whole metabolic signaling pathways out, causing the body to behave like it needs more sugar. It's just an accumulative.
Can we go back to cancer, because that's the hot topic here? What would you tell a cancer patient right now who's being treated in Western medicine and is not hearing any of this, because this is not what your oncologist is telling you?
Well, that's a problem. We have several ways to change the system. Number one, the patient needs to be educated. Number two, the oncologist needs to be educated. The entire cancer system and industry needs to be re-educated. Cancer is a mitochondrial metabolic disorder. It is not a genetic disorder. We have I've published several major papers. I have a big one coming out, which completely shows that the somatic mutation theory, which drives the entire cancer industry, whether it's from the National Cancer Institute, whether it's from the hospitals, pharmaceutical industries, they're all looking and hunting for genes and all this kind of stuff. All of that is largely irrelevant. And we've been spending...
And they get millions of dollars to
billions of dollars to do this.
It kills me.
Okay.
I could use just a fraction of that for my nonprofit.
Yeah, well, the problem is we got, according to the recent data from the American Cancer Society, we have 1,700 people a day dying from cancer in the United States, which comes to 70 people dead per hour.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. And yet you hear everybody talking about all the breakthroughs. The only major breakthrough in reducing the death for cancer was the anti-smoking campaign. So that was prevention. So preventing chronic diseases is what Kennedy wants to do. We'll drop the cancer death rate. We'll drop the diabetes incidence. We'll drop all of these things. The question is, who knows how to do that? We do.
Yeah.
That's why we have the glucose ketone index, which will be used to reduce not only cancer, but all these chronic diseases.
Right.
But then the question is, you have to be educated to know, and you have to, each person is a unique entity. So what works for you may not work for me or work for other people. So everybody has to challenge their own body using different foods, different exercise routines, and then monitor your ratio of glucose to ketones. And when you keep it below a certain zone, which we're talking about now, you're in a management zone. You can manage chronic diseases. If you go down a little bit lower, then you can actually better manage cancer, okay, which is killing cancer cells.
And that's through ketosis?
Yeah, well, it's bringing you
and-
back to a Paleolithic. All of our Paleolithic ancestors were in nutritional ketosis because there wasn't always. They had a lot of exercise, no carbohydrates,
Right.
not no minimal carbohydrates, and if there were carbohydrates, they were all natural. There weren't any processed, anything like that. And that's why that diet that they used in our glioblastoma patients from Greece, it was a calorie restricted Mediterranean ketogenic diet. So the vegetables were from the Mediterranean region. They had sardines and salmon, avocados, and olive oils. So that was all monitored at a regulated amount that the people were eating.
And not too much fruit, right? Not too much.
I didn't see any fruit on the list.
Because fruit was seasonal for
I'd have to check and see if we gave them vitamin C supplementations. But the fruits today have been all engineered to be big and sweet.
Yeah.
Right? Traditional apples were about this big and they were bigger. They were bitter. You'd have to wait for them to get into the season where they would be kind of ripe. And then you get some sweet.
Like 2 inches.
The original apples were like little things.
Yeah.
And now we got apples that are. You ever see the Japanese apples?
I know.
Like the size of grapefruits.
The size of babies' heads.
Yes, they're huge.
It's like crazy.
But when I was working in the epilepsy field, when we were working on diets for kids with seizures, we found the grapefruit. Grapefruits can give you a lot of vitamin C and didn't spike your blood sugar.
That's right.
So that was a good source of fruit. And people say, well, I don't like it, it's bitter.
Yeah.
Well, okay, maybe you put some stevia on it. And then you measure your GKI and see whether or not it changes.
That's right.
And if it doesn't, then don't worry about it.
I mean, could someone just have one of those little monitors at home?
Yeah, you can buy it on Amazon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's called the Keto Mojo. I've got a.
Do you get like a percentage of that?
Well, the funny thing about it is the answer is no.
Oh.
We developed it here at Boston College, not the meter, the formula. Yeah. You can't patent a formula.
Oh.
So they came to us and they said, "Oh, we want to license your formula." I can't do anything about it. So they put it into the meter, and now they're making great money on our calculator.
And it pricks the blood?
Yeah, it's like a diabetic does.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Yeah. These diabetics, they're always measuring their blood. Yeah. It's the same thing. Wow. So people now say, I don't want to prick my finger. Some people don't care. I was talking to another guy.
I wouldn't care.
Yeah. Well, but we have Free Libra, which is a glucose monitor on the arm. You know this? You see these. No, what's called Free Libra. It's a continuous glucose monitor. You can attach it to your arm, and it goes right to your cell phone. So at any given time, you're seeing your blood sugar.
Cool.
Okay, but what they're making now, there's some technologies that are going to make it for ketone and glucose. So you can monitor your GKI on your cell phone at any given time. So that's why I said with our new theory that's coming out. Yeah. See, there it is right there. Okay, we published this paper in 2016 or something like the glucose ketone index for glioblastoma patients. But now we're modifying it as a tool for reducing and managing all these chronic diseases, including cancer. So you can see the high numbers. The higher your glucose number is, the less healthy you are. Okay, so people above 50 and above would be the zone of inflammation, hypertension, obesity, fatigue, sleep apnea, cardiovascular risk, arthritis, and cancer. Then you have risk of chronic diseases. Now, as you lower your GKI, you can start to see improvements managing all of these different diseases. And when you get down in 2.0 or below, you're in the zone of killing cancer cells.
Right.
Okay.
But don't you need glycogen too?
Glycogen?
Glycogen.
Glycogen is converted into glucose.
So it's glucose and ketones.
Yeah, so we can measure blood sugar. Easy. Everybody can measure blood sugar.
Right.
Your ketones, you can measure those too. But nobody does that except diabetics. Type 1 diabetics do that because they can go into ketoacidosis.
And also people on Atkins diet.
Atkins diet, people who have normal...
You can't on a stick to check if you're in ketosis.
Yeah, but the ketosis is nutritional ketosis, it's not pathogenic ketoacidosis. People who have type 1 diabetes will have very high blood sugar and very high ketones. And I'm talking about lethal levels. But people like you, if you're good, normal folks, you pee out the ketones. But you don't want to pee out glucose. Some people with diabetes will pee out glucose. and that's abnormal. The body always keeps glucose. We take it in, and we convert it to fat. So you can't get fat eating fat. You get fat eating glucose, right? That's the great mystery. Oh, I can't eat that. It's got too much fat in it. That's going to make you skinny. Eat the cupcake. That'll make you fat.
So back to the cancer patients.
Yeah.
How basically getting the monitor and then putting themselves in ketosis is a way to combat their
So what you do is
cancer.
There's two fuels driving cancer, and we have interrogated cancer cells, and we know the sugar glucose and the amino acid glutamine. Those are the two fuels that drive the dysregulated growth, which is cancer. Whether it's a breast tumor, a brain tumor, a colon tumor, a bladder tumor, a melanoma, a blood cancer, doesn't make any difference. All major cancers cannot survive without glucose and glutamine.
Well, how do you turn glutamine off?
We use drugs for that. Don is the best drug so far, but it's not available.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, but we use now parasite medications.
Oh, that's actually my naturopath that has me on it.
But we have now, and we published a couple of papers. Our big papers coming out.
Yeah.
It turns out that the parasites and the cancer cells use a common pathway to get energy. So, and then it was so shocking when people started treating cancer patients with parasite medications. Wow, I don't know how it works. Yeah, we know exactly how it works. It's pulling the plug on the glutamine pathway.
Is ivermectin?
Ivermectin is another parasite medication, which may operate that way, but I don't know because we avoided that because of all the controversy and politics around ivermectin. I didn't want a lot of people, making
now it's different.
Yeah, now it might be different. But we use M-bendazole and fenbendazole.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So all of these have a potential therapeutic benefit. But when you're in nutritional ketosis, that's when the power of these medications comes in.
No, my naturopath has me on a heavy parasite detox for a year.
Yeah.
I take this something called Cell Core.
Yeah.
And my gosh, she just, that's what she's like.
Okay, but that's
and she wanted me to also do a dental colby scan of my teeth because sometimes the cancer can come through an old,
Yeah, well, that's true, but I don't know unless you have a cavity or a hole in your. These are all things that.
This is what she wants.
This is why we don't look at when we do. I would, I'm not going to tell. I'm not a physician. I can't tell you what to do or what not to do.
Yeah.
We only have.
I know.
All the educational information. Then the individual makes choices.
Yeah.
But there's certain things I would never do, but I'm not going to tell you not to do that. But well, when you do biopsy of the tissue, right, you create a wound, and that has the potential to spread the tumor around the body.
Right.
If you have a wound in your tooth and you have some hanging on cancer cells that are metastatic, they'll go right there. You can create it by causing a wound, or you can bring them out from a tissue if they're very kind of indolent. Now, we published many papers on the origin of metastatic cancer. We know it's our immune system itself. It's a macrophage type of disorder. So when you have a wound or something like that, if you have a bunch of cancer cells that are growing dysregulated cell growth, they don't go anywhere but where they start. They can't move. They can't go into the bloodstream. They can't spread around your body, but they're causing a wound. They're eliciting a wound in some organ, some body. Then our immune cells come out of the bloodstream and they go because their job is to heal wounds. That's the nature of immune cells. They heal wounds. And the problem is these are cells that are dysregulated in their growth. And the immune cell comes in and sees a disturbance in the microenvironment. And the immune cells now use these chemicals and cytokines and growth factors, which normally heals wound. But in this context, it stimulates the problem, not heals it. And then these cells have the capacity to become even more and more aggressive to facilitate wound healing. So what they do is they either fuse with themselves to make a bigger cell, or they fuse with whatever cells are in there. These cancer cells that have no capacity to spread. And then what happens is the immune cell fuses and forms this hybridization. And these cells now can move all over your body. It's because because the macrophage can move in and out of your bloodstream, can move in and out of tissues. That's what its natural program.
That's why I had brain cancer. Right?
Yeah, well, yeah, because it's spread from
Right.
one source to another,
Right.
one organ to another.
So let's talk about ketogenic, because that is something that we don't learn about until we learn about it. And we find you, but it's like the light bulb comes on, because we don't hear about this in the cancer ward. They're still giving us chips and sandwiches, and there's no talk about ketogenic.
Well, that's because they lack knowledge.
Yeah.
Okay. There's one of the area in medicine, the greatest area for ignorance and lack of knowledge is the cancer industry. No, it's true. We have 1,700 people a day dying, right? I mean, obviously, if these guys knew something, we could drop that death rate very quickly if we had healthcare providers, nurses, and the hospitals.
Is it money? Like, what is?
It's ignorance. Yeah, they have no clue what I'm talking about.
I don't know if it's ignorance, because I think a lot of people want to know, but I think
in
medical schools, there's no money in that.
No, it's not that there's no money in it. It's just that the theory under which the disease is recognized to be, which is the somatic mutation theory, is incorrect. So because I turn out all these kids that go to medical school all the time, and when they get in there, cancer, they talk about cancer mutations, the KRAS mutation, this mutation, P53 mutation. So it's all in your brain. Mutation, cancer, mutation, cancer, mutation. And they say, well, so now we're going to make precision drugs to try to target that mutation and manage the cancer. All these immunotherapies, CAR T, PD-L1, PD-1, all these are all immunotherapies. You're going to train your immune system to come in and kill the cancer. God damn, the cancer is the immune system. So every now and then you get a patient that really does well in an immunotherapy. That's true. So you find that 20% of people get really remarkable recovery. You get about 60% of the people doesn't do anything one way or the other. And then 20% of the people get hyperprogressive disease, 18, 15, 20%. What does that mean? The immune system, you die from the treatment before you die from the cancer, right? So, it's hyperprogressive disease caused by the treatment itself, right? Now, the other thing
is that like losing your hair?
That's because it blows your liver and kidneys out.
Oh, wow.
Okay, you die from kidney liver failure.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, or another organ failure, or something like this. You die from the treatment before you die from the cancer they're treating. Yeah. Okay, it's called hyperprogressive disease. Well known. They don't like to talk about it. Yeah. Well, who would? But they don't lie. If you go and listen to television at night, now the young people are all on their cell phone. I don't know what the hell they're looking at. But when you look at ABC, TikTok, whatever, they come on with these cancer treatments. Yeah. And they say, and they spend about 1/3 or less time telling you how this is going to help you, and the rest of the commercial is telling you how is this thing going to kill you. Yeah. Right. They're not hiding anything, and they talk real fast. Fast. And when you really distill it down, this thing has a greater probability of killing you than curing you. Right, and then people run out and they go to the guy down here at Dana-Farber. Oh, yeah, we're going to give you that stuff, and you talk to these guys, and they have no clue about the biology of the disease they're treating. Oh, I understand, Ken. You don't understand. You wouldn't be doing that to the patient if you really understood what was going on.
It's beautiful when they want to learn, though.
My
oncologist really does want to. Well,
some do.
Just curious.
Yes, some do.
Because I survived, leptomeningeal disease. If you Google it, it's 3 to 6 months to live. So of course she wants to know what the heck I'm doing.
Well, you're lucky to have an oncologist like that. Yeah. Because most of them don't want to know. Because I have hundreds of people here. I said they're all like brain cancer, colon cancer, breast cancer. They're doing well, and they go back to the oncologist and they say they always look miffed. Oh, we never saw anything like this before. This is really remarkable. Don't you want to know? No, I don't want to know. Just do what you're doing. This is. Give me a break. Then there's others who get angry when you tell them. They slap the patient. Why would a patient come in here and know more about cancer than I do? Right? And you guys are you guys are using medieval treatments. I'm coming in with a non-toxic way.
Slash and burn. That's what they learn.
And then if they try, the young folks, oncologists, who really understand and want to do this, they'll lose their license.
Yeah.
You have to do poison irradiation.
Yeah.
It's like one shoe fits all.
I know.
Everybody is different metabolically.
Everyone's different.
So how do we change the system?
Because there's nobody offering that right now.
No, it's not allowed. You can't.
Or maybe in probably in Mexico or something.
Yeah, but you want to go down there. Why the hell should you have to go to Mexico?
So many
we could do it here.
doing that
I know, it's just terrible to go down. Those guys don't know what they're doing down there either. So I know that. So it's true. I look at the guys with these people. What are they throwing all these supplements at these people? I have no clue. They're not even monitoring.
I have a friend right now getting her cancer removed through a cannabis oil treatment.
Well, you have to know.
It's literally fell out.
Yeah.
The tumor fell out.
You have to know when to do this and how to do it. And then you have to have biomarkers to follow to say, we have to know why the tumor fell out and why did the other person doing it, the tumor didn't fall out. So you have to put all this together. This is what we're doing. We're trying to come up with a quantitative, parallel quantitative markers to be able to better predict outcome rather than, whoa, I'm so surprised that happened. You shouldn't be surprised. You should know, you should have a pretty good idea what's going to happen and when it's going to happen. So that's what we're doing here. So we're we've redefined cancer as a mitochondrial metabolic disease. A big paper coming out on that, based on Otto Warburg's original observations. So we showed where he was correct and where he was not correct.
And for those who don't know about Otto Warburg, this is 1920 or so?
Yeah, it was 1920s.
He won the Nobel Peace Prize.
No, not the Peace Prize.
He won a Nobel Prize.
Nobel Prize, Physiology and Medicine.
Okay.
But not for cancer.
Not peace.
No, not for cancer. He won it for discovering the respiratory enzyme, cytochrome C, which was foundational biochemistry. But he knew that all these cancer cells had a defect in this, and they couldn't respire, and they had to get energy from non-oxidative sources, which is fermentation, lactic acid fermentation. But we discovered now we have amino acid fermentation, which is what Warburg missed, and the whole field actually missed it. They don't even know what we're talking about. But now we bring in glutamine, the amino acid, and that is fermented. It's not respired. So the field thinks it's respired. We have evidence that it's fermented.
But he was the first to show that cancer is caused by glucose.
Not caused by glucose. Glucose is a fuel for cancer.
Oh, fuel.
Okay.
Is a fuel.
Cancer is caused by chronic damage to the mitochondria, the organelle that generates energy within the cell.
Okay.
That is the origin of cancer. Mitochondrial dysfunction is the origin of cancer, right? Can you say that?
Mitochondria.
No, mitochondrial dysfunction.
Mitochondrial dysfunction
is the origin of cancer.
Is the origin of cancer.
Okay. So, and everybody can get that dysfunction from any number of things. In your case, it was the BRCA1. Okay. In somebody else's case, it could have been smoking. In somebody else's case, it could have been a carcinogen like a microplastic or something like forever chemical. Another person, it could have been sleep apnea. Another person, it could have been chronic inflammation. A lot of people with type 2 diabetes also have chronic inflammation, which is C-reactive protein. Chronic inflammation will damage efficiency of mitochondria, putting you on the path for dysregulated cell growth. So when the chronic damage to the oxygen utilization for generating energy goes down, the cell has to get energy from some other source. So it falls back on ancient pathways of fermentation. And any cell that cannot upregulate the fermentation will never become a cancer cell. Like neurons or heart cardiomyocytes, they rarely if ever become cancer because they can't switch to fermentation. So liver, colon, all these other things, all these other cells can switch to the fermentation. So then you say, oh, well, I should have been better in protecting my mitochondria with exercise and a lot of these things. Unfortunately, I didn't do that. Okay, now I got this tumor and it's raging. And what am I going to do about it? Okay, we know it's why it's raging. It's fermenting these two fuels. So how do I manage the cancer? I've got to target the two fuels.
Well, in Western medicine, they would just cut it. They would give you chemo and then they would cut it out.
Okay, but we can still use those things. Because if we use metabolic therapy, we can take this angry beast and we can shrink it down and make it indolent. Now the surgeon can come in and take it out and get most of it.
So we can still work with allopathic medicine.
Yeah, we have to just know what to do and when to do it.
Yeah, so they shouldn't fear this approach.
Yeah, and the chemo that everybody fears, a hair bald. Anytime you see a bald-headed person, That person was treated by someone who has no clue about the biology of cancer. That's a state, like, it's a sign. A bald-headedness. What happened to your hair? Oh, I'm going to cancer. Why would he? Did you have cancer in your hair follicles? Why would you have?
Look.
Yeah. Okay.
My hair fell out.
Yeah. Well,
and it's coming back. But
okay. Well, it's good. It's good that it comes back. So rather than not coming back.
I know. Well, I'm doing a reverse cold cap. You know that.
Yeah.
Do you know what a cold cap is?
No.
I'm doing a reverse. It freezes your hair follicle.
Oh, I see. To get the hair to come back.
Well, I'm doing it to get the hair coming back because when they gave me NR2, I didn't have time. To put it on.
Well, anyway,
so now
we're trying to make all of this a lot less traumatic for the person with cancer. There should be no reason why anybody should have to lose their hair, right? Because you're trying to kill cancer cells, not kill hair follicles, right?
Yeah, but they give you this toxic drug.
Yeah, well, why? Why would they give you a toxic drug?
It also wipes out your digestion.
Yeah, why would they do that? No, why would they do that if they understood the biology of the problem? You would never do that. That's medieval.
I know.
Right? It is medieval.
And you get so sick.
Oh, terrible.
Don't have me go back there. It's traumatizing.
No, it's but I'm saying is once our concepts become incorporated, you will not have to do a lot of the crazy stuff that we're doing to these cancer patients. It's education. You got to educate the entire cancer. It's not a genetic disease. It's a mitochondrial metabolic disease. Once you understand that, the solution, the strategies for management and prevention will be so much clearer and easier, right?
People have to detox. And that's a scary thing for people, that to let go of the flour and processed sugar.
Yeah, well, stuff. I mean, that if you know it's going to work, and you know it's going to have a real outcome, and it's for a lot of the success falls on your shoulders because you got the meter, you're monitoring this, right? So they should get everyone a meter. They should give everyone a meter. Well, that's what the new technology is coming out right now.
When's it going to come out?
No, we already have the Keto Mojo meter, which you can buy from Keto Mojo. I don't.
Keto Mojo.
Yeah, Keto Mojo. I don't have them. It's next door.
That's like your study about the mice.
Yeah.
Who are, like,
what does
obese.
that say?
Oh, Keto Mojo.
Yeah,
that's
glucose ketone strips. So
that was like your the mice who got their mojo back.
Yeah.
When you water fasted them or whatever.
Yeah. Well, that's how
they were like fat little mice. And then you basically gave them all you put them all on water fast. And they all like became thin and they had their libido back.
Yeah, everything. So yeah, it was.
So if you want to get your mojo back, you gotta like.
Well, that's what Dorian. He wanted to use some fancy Dorian Greenough, who owns the company. He was talking to me about it, and I didn't know what to say. I mean, he just used our calculator and put it into the machine, because people don't even want to divide. Wow. If you go back to they just push the button. Hey, look at my GKI today.
That's great, and this is going to be available on the market.
It is already out there.
Oh, it's already on Amazon?
Well, this is the strips. These are the strips. This is not the meter. The meter is a little. Have you ever see a diabetic with a meter, little meter?
Yeah.
Okay, they measure glucose. The Keto Mojo measures glucose and ketones, and then does the ratio. This is just the strips. These are the strips you touch to your finger.
This Keto Mojo.
Yeah, that's only the strips, the glucose ketone strips. The meter you can buy on Amazon.
Yes.
And I'm not a representative for this product.
You should be.
No, because you have others. You have the Precision Extra from Abbott Labs.
Yeah.
They do it. But this one is strictly pushing the health benefits of keeping a low GKI, glucose ketone index. And you can buy them on Amazon. The meter's not that expensive. It's like $50. They get you on the consumables because you have to keep buying the strips.
Right.
So, listen, if you have cancer,
I know.
It's not like the biggest outlay. And then you go down and get a PDL1 inhibitor, right, for like $200,000.
Yeah.
Something like that. It's absurd.
Yeah, but insurance covers it usually.
Well, yeah, and that's another problem with moving the field forward, is the insurance companies make money on big policies. The more the cost, right? So they like big policies, because if something is expensive, you have to pay more to get coverage. If someone asked me one time, can I my bottle of distilled water, will my insurance cover the bottle of distilled water? But for $1.50, you think they're gonna? The paperwork is more. So but any event, this whole thing will change, and the field has to be re-educated. unless people are happy with the status quo.
Mm.
Are you happy with the status quo?
I mean, I'm grateful my doctor supported
But
me.
you suffered.
I mean, I guess
You just told me how your hair's out and all this kind of stuff. All right. If you could get into the same condition without having to do all this suffering, other than personal discipline, other than being cautious about what you're eating, how much exercise is so important. We're seeing that the GKI can drop even further when you do a lot of exercise.
And you're in ketosis.
And you're in nutritional ketosis, exercise, and then you come in with strategic parasite drugs and other drugs that will target the glutamine. And the next thing you know, you're in a state of no evidence of disease. Or we had our brain cancer guy, he just passed away, Pablo, for 10 years with a glioblastoma.
Oh, wow.
But he never took radiation or chemo or any of this stuff. He just did metabolic stuff. And he died from a cerebral hemorrhage from the last trying to remove a piece of the tumor. He didn't die from the tumor.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, 10 years. Now you're telling me how many GBM patients can live 10 years?
Wow.
So all of this stuff, and they said, well, that's anecdotal. Wow. Yeah, but the Greek study came out. How many anecdotal studies do you want before people are going to say, hey, listen, I want to do what you're doing? And you're right. When you go down to Dana-Farber in their cafeteria, you got guys sitting there being infused with some chemo while they're drinking Coca-Cola, eating a Big Mac.
I know.
But what the how dumb? What is these? It's just absurd.
I know. There's such a disconnect.
Yeah. Why is there such a disconnect? Why
money?
No, it's not just money. It's ignorance. They have no clue what's driving the dysregulated cell growth. They don't know that the tumor can't grow without glucose and glutamine. They can't grow without glucose and glutamine. So why would you put glucose and glutamine on top of the fuel that can't, right?
I know.
And then when you tell them, oh, do you know cancer cells can't grow without glucose? Never heard of that. I would have known that in medical school.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't tell you in medical school. I'm telling you now.
Yeah.
Well, how come? Well, we've been doing this for 45 years the way this, and we don't want to change. So you'd prefer to cause people to have blasted out guts, baldness, all kinds of mucositis and all this kind of stuff, just because you've been doing it for 40 years, you don't want to change. I think people want to change. You got 1,700 people a day dying. By the end of this day, we'll have 1,700 dead and 70 an hour. I don't think that's good. How are these people come on TV and say we're making major progress? They're not making major progress. It's abysmal. The whole place should be gutted out because they're not making. You got to get in there and you got to focus on keeping people alive longer with a healthier quality of life. That's the evidence. You do that. How'd you do that? Because we targeted glucose and glutamine, put the body in nutritional ketosis. That's all you had to do? Yeah, we put a little drugs to match that a little bit. We can even come back with a little radiation. We can even come back with a little immunotherapy. We can come back with a little, when the tumor is shrunken down, hanging on, and it's just residual, then you might want to consider chemo, a little radiation, little something like. You don't go into it at the beginning. Then you got all these adverse effects, and you cause the patient to be very, very anxiety comes up, the impending idea of dying, all the physical trauma that you go through, the mutilations, the diarrhea, the fatigue, and all that kind of stuff. We shouldn't have to do that. We don't have. It's, believe me, it is going to change. It is absolutely going to change because we cannot continue what we're doing. It ain't working, and we know how it can work, and we have the evidence to show how it works in clinical responses and in the science. So people say, well, how can that be? How could you not do that? You want to know? Go down and ask Dana-Farber about it. Oh, I never heard of it. How could you not hear of it? They don't read the scientific literature. And then they say, do you think that's right? And most people go around and they ask, what do you think? What do you think? Oh, what the hell? Who gives it? What do you think? Yeah. What do you think? What? Oh, I'm not really sure. Well, why don't you do a deep dive? Your ass is on the ground for it, right? Your soul, your existence. Yeah. You're going to ask some other guy who has no clue, right?
I mean, what you're doing is radical. So I wonder, do drug companies come after you?
Why?
Would they come after you?
No, they don't come in. They don't even know what's going on. They just want to sell product.
They come after naturopaths, though.
Well, the naturopaths have no scientific credibility to talk with it. They're not doing the research. I'm not saying they have no credibility. They're not doing the science like I'm doing. We got an army of kids and students that publish papers in peer-reviewed journals. Right. Let the naturopaths show me the controlled experiments and the evidence to what they're doing. Then we'll say, well, how can you publish in a top journal and you're telling me you can't do that? What do you mean? Here's the evidence. What's wrong with that number? They're not doing that. Right. You're just throwing a bunch of supplements at you. Some of them are good. Some of them have no no relation. We always have to worry about those kinds of guys coming in with all this crazy shit. Oh, what are you doing? It's true. Oh, what are you taking that for? I know he told me to take that. What is it doing to your GKI? I have no clue. Well, for crying out, you better know what it's doing to your GKI. Right. So it's, again, you have to educate the cancer patient. You have to educate the oncologist. And believe me, there will be revenue guys who know how to entrepreneurial this stuff.
You've heard of the Gerson therapy?
Yeah, I think it's another diet kind of thing.
It's juicing.
Yeah, the juicing. What is it doing to your GKI?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? What is it? Well, I don't know. Well, why don't you measure it? Then you'll know.
Right.
Okay, if you have a high GKI, which is unhealthy, and you want to do juicing, okay, see if it comes down.
Right.
Okay, and look at my GKI come down juicing. Is it in the cancer killing zone? Not yet. Okay, let's see if we can bring it down. So everybody can test whatever they think works for themselves, put it on the glucose ketone index and see what it's doing. Because when you have a low GKI, the tumor cells are getting hammered. Right. How do you know that? Because we did the research and we showed that all major cancers are driven by blood sugar in one form and amino acid in the other form. I'm lowering my blood sugar. I'm raising my ketones. They can't burn ketones and fatty acids. People say, oh yeah, some cancers can burn fatty acids. Cancer cells cannot burn fat. I published a big paper on this. So they get engorged with lipid droplets in the cytoplasm because they can't burn them. So we've looked at all these things. We have the clearest idea how to move this cancer into a manageable disease without anxiety, without toxicity. The problem is the field has not yet caught up with the science. And then you have to have, how do we all transition revenue generation? Right. Okay? But that, so are we going to say,
on a ketogenic diet?
Yeah, but it's not just a ketogenic diet. It's the way you use drugs together with the diet.
Right.
It's a diet-drug synergy.
Right.
It's not just the diet.
No.
Okay? People always say ketogenic diets. Ketogenic diet is a tool. It's a medicine in itself, but it will not likely cure most cancers by itself. But when you put it in with certain drugs on certain strategies, now it becomes super powerful. And that's what you need to know. And people need to run trials on this. If it were so important, how come there's no trial on what I'm saying? Who the hell's going to do a trial when you have nobody that knows what I'm talking about or even understands what to do and how to do it? That's why we just published a major paper with 25 people, MDs, nutritionists, physicians. Yeah, and it will work for all major cancers. We just published it in biomedicine. Biomedicine, guys. Yeah. It's
is it free for people to check?
All of our stuff is open access. Yeah. So you can go at BMC Biomedicine. Anyway, it's got a big.
And then what is your YouTube for people who just also want to?
It's Talking Cancer with Professor Seyfried, just like we're doing here.
Yeah.
But usually they'll ask me more specific questions about what's the bioenergetics of ketone? Why ketone is so powerful for keeping normal cells healthy?
Yeah.
That's the thing. And why can't the cancer cell use the ketone that the normal cell? Normal cells using ketone when glucose is low. Why can't the cancer cell switch to ketone? Because the mitochondria are dysfunctional. This dysfunction prevents them from using the fuel that our normal cells evolved to use, just like our ancestors were all in ketosis. Cancer cells cannot make those switches. They're very vulnerable to fermentation. If you touch the glucose and glutamine, they have great struggle to survive. And then you exercise, and muscles pulling the glucose out of the blood, right? So that puts more pressure on the cancer.
When you say exercise, are you talking about like building muscle?
Both.
Or just cardio?
Both. And then you look at your glucose ketone index. You say, wow, I'm really struggling. I'm not down in the green zone yet. I've been fasting. I've been doing this. I've been doing that. Well, you go out and walk 5 miles or go to the gym and lift some weights. And then you go back and measure your GKI.
Wow.
And you go, wow, it's hitting the green.
That's not a reason to exercise. I don't know what is.
Well, this is the whole thing. You have to know your biology, and your biology will be different from somebody else's.
Right.
So this other guy might lift weights and get there. You might have to run or walk, right, or swim or bike ride or something.
Right.
So and you say your muscles respond better to lowering GKI with this exercise than with that exercise.
I'm excited to get this monitor.
Yeah. So we published all this, but the new thing is how we're putting people into these zones. Yeah. So people know where they are and where they want to go. And then they would be prescribed certain medications that would work together with this achievement. So because right now we're taking these cancer patients, we're sitting them down, and we're infusing them with poison
Right.
and irradiation, right? We're surgically hacking them apart.
Yeah.
You know, we right? This is what we do. This is medieval. This is a massive lack of knowledge. Massive lack of knowledge. I know, and we wrote this treatment protocol, which will become the standard of care for all everywhere. But it takes time for the science to be incorporated into the brain, patients to try it, knowledgeable physicians. Why are we locking the standard of care for cancer involving these three things? Why is there no flexibility involved with this? When we were doing glioblastoma on Cedars-Sinai in West Coast, California, my good friend Jethro Hugh, who's doing this, I said to Jethro, he said, we have to do standard of care first, and then when the tumor recurs, then we can do metabolic therapy. I said, why don't you do metabolic therapy first? And if the tumor recurs, then you can do radiation and chemo. He said, oh, no, we can't do that. Why? Because if the tumor doesn't recur, then we don't.
Oh, right. They can't radiate it.
No, but I'm just saying, this is how absurd things are, right? So I don't believe that metabolic therapy is gonna work. Okay, so you irradiate the guy, you free up massive amounts of glucose and glutamine. I have the survival here.
Right.
Okay, how does that look? Why don't you look at that survival curve for glioblastoma using standard of care, right? So we're going to change that. That's absolutely going to be changed. We're going to keep these people alive so much longer, right? So then they hear me. I hear this Seyfried talking. Let me run down to Dana-Farber. Oh, no, that works. What do you mean it doesn't work? They've got papers showing that it does. Well, it hasn't been vetted yet. Like, your stuff is working? Okay, you want to be, or tell the patient, where would you like to be on the curve? You want to live 9 months? Or you think you're going to live, if you're really lucky, look how many people live on the floor. How many guys you got out there? In 4 years survival, you got one guy. This is absurd. We're going to double all these survivals once they realize what to do and how to do it.
That's right. Well,
and it's breast cancer, colon cancer, all these cancers.
Yeah.
They're all one.
Cancer.
But you have to know why.
Why?
Because they're all fermenting. Regardless of what the mutations are, they all have that common dependency on glucose and glutamine, whether it's a lung, colon, breast, or whatever. Because we did the studies. I published all these papers. And they're open access if people want to read them. And of course, people get upset when they read it because it's not what they thought. And then you have all these problems. So yeah, I'm working with a lot of folks now. We're going to improve the standards of care. We're going to reevaluate all the standard care. And the goal is to drop not only cancer, you're going to high blood pressure, hypertension, diabetes, obesity, all this stuff will fall into the glucose ketone index calculator. So, and chronic diseases will be dropping. If people know what to do and how to do it. I think most people want to stay healthy. And then you have to have the flexibility of eating a pizza or donut, but you don't do it on a regular basis. And then,
or you don't do it at all.
Or you don't do it, but then you can look at your GKI and say, oh, geez, I really want that super sweet latte, right? Oh, let me just take a sip of it, and then you go and measure your GKI and go, oh my God, don't touch it.
You want the cancer to come back or the chronic disease to come back. There you go.
Yeah, so you have a marker now that tells you at any given time where you are with respect to your overall health. How does that sound?
That sounds great. Well, thank you so much. I mean, I feel like I could talk to you for years, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, but how can they find you? You don't have a website per se, but they can find you.
All of our research is supported now by philanthropy and private foundations. So people give money to Boston College, goes to our research, as they define it. We have on my BC Biology webpage, there's a donation site. And then we have Travis Christofferson's Foundation for Cancer Metabolic Therapy supports our work. We have other private foundations. And now we get more and more people who want to be part of the movement to change.
Yeah, I'm part of the movement.
Yeah. So they get money. The more money we get from these sources, the more rapidly we're going to reduce death rates from cancer.
Well, that sounds great. Well, thank you so much for your time. And I'm so grateful for you and for all your research, really. I mean, really.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, you started in the epilepsy kind of field, but what prompted you to go into cancer?
Well, because we were had two parallel research projects, one on the biochemistry of angiogenesis, which is related to cancer, and the other is the metabolic management of epilepsy. And that was found out that if we did ketogenic diets. That's where it started for epilepsy. I
Right.
ran the ketogenic diet workshops for the American Epilepsy
Mm.
Society, so we were bringing all this stuff together. And then we found out it didn't make any difference what kind of seizures the kids had. If you put them in these low carb, elevated ketones, the seizures would be managed.
Wow.
So we said, what's the mechanism? And the mechanism for managing epilepsy is not as clear as it is for managing cancer. Cancer, it's clear what's going on. For the epileptic seizures, we're still trying to figure that out.
Wow, thank you so much, Doctor. This has been a great talk. So thank you.
Thank you.
After the interview, he took me to his lab, which was quite an amazing experience.
Can I film you? Yeah.
This is he's one of the guys that's going to be the future of management.
Wow. How are you?
Where did Derek go?
I'm a 4-time cancer survivor. Yeah.
Oh, geez. Okay, they're on a meet. Where is our?
Wow, science.
Let me see here. They're on a podcast. Oh, here is the meter. Here they are.
Okay. Whoa. So what do I do?
No, that you take after you prick your finger for blood.
Okay.
You put it into the meter, right there in that little.
Can we do that now?
No.
Oh.
Oh no, can't take that.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Unless I had Lynn here, I would. This is kind of a medical procedure.
Oh,
but anyway, just to show you what but you can buy it. You can get it on Amazon, and then you can follow the little directions.
Oh wow!
And you can.
You've got this.
We're using it. This is all for mice right now, not humans.
Oh.
Okay, but you buy your own. You can do it for the mice. Do it for humans.
Are your mice here?
No, they're all especially they're in a vivarium. No, they're never on vacation.
What's a vivarium?
That's where you put all the animals. It's the animal room, they call it.
It's the animal room.
Yeah. So that's in a different part of the building.
Oh.
So
that sounds really fun.
So anyway, yeah. So Federico's here, and my other groups, they're all doing a big YouTube video on cancer and everything. So
what a lab! Looks like fun happens here.
This is where the action happens. This is where the solution to the cancer problem will come from, right, Federico? Yeah. Yeah. So you have this is the center. It's like what's his name? Sigmund Freud's office in Couch.
Right. Yeah.
Where this is the
where the magic happens.
This is where I don't know what I call magic. It's hard work that really takes.
Yeah, it's really not magic.
Go take the picture of the cancer cell eating the Twinkies.
What?
See it on the wall right in front of you.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. To have with the Grim Reaper.
Because the more money you give to the Susan Komen Foundation, the more dead breast cancer patients you get.
Oh my gosh.
Don't you know that?
No, I didn't know this.
No, how come all these women are dying from breast cancer? Keep giving money to Susan Komen.
Oh my
Susan Komen thinks cancer is a genetic disease. It's not a genetic disease. It's a mitochondrial metabolic disease. So you want to get breast cancer, contribute to it, keep giving money to Susan Komen.
Wow.
Right? Do you give money to Susan Komen?
No, I don't. No.
Well, I mean, keep giving money. Nobody ever asks where the money goes. Every year, how come we give more money to Susan Komen and we get more breast cancer?
Right.
Right? Nobody ever asked the question.
I attended one of their walks, and I educated people about what not to eat.
Yeah.
Because they were serving muffins and bagels, and
it
didn't make sense to me.
No,
so I came in there dressed like the breast cancer goddess. I had a cape on, and I did like a publicity stunt. Yeah. Well,
anyway, that's that. Yeah. So, and this guy here, this is the statue of Bruno Giordano, who was burned at the stake in that location in Rome because he supported the Copernican theory that the Earth revolves around the sun.
Just to give you more context on this powerful moment, Giordano Bruno is a 16th century Italian philosopher and former Catholic priest who was burned at the stake in Rome for his unorthodox beliefs, quote unquote, including the idea that the universe is infinite and that other solar systems exist. This is implying that the cancer research that Dr. Seyfried is doing, his research is unconventional, and that he is like Giordano Bruno. When this is real, we know that solar systems exist, we know that the universe is infinite, but it scares people to death, And so he was put to death as a result of that because they didn't want to change their own beliefs.
You were interested in this, right?
Oh my goodness. The Great American Diet Lifestyle, SAD, Standard American Diet. Sad. Just sad. All right, yeah. Looks like a lot of people I know. So just to give you some context of why you're listening to this music, I'm showing the reel of when I went to the Susan Komen Walk in Cambridge a couple of years ago, and I was showing my group what they were serving women and survivors with cancer, with breast cancer, and family members as well. And it was all prepackaged and white flour, sugar, and I found it to be an incredible disconnect. And so I wanted to create some media attention to that. So yes, dressing like a superhero, I came in with the breast cancer goddess. This was at the beginning of my nonprofit work. And I came in with pink hair and a cape, and that's the video that you'd be watching. And please subscribe to my Substack so you can see all these videos, and please consider being a paid subscriber. That's even better because that helps fund me and helps all the work that I'm doing. And I so thank you for your time.